Okay. Hi, everyone. Welcome to Coffee with Kelly and Alison.
Yes, welcome everyone.
And we have a holiday coming up this coming weekend,
That's
next
all
weekend.
about us, right, Allison? Is that so wrong?
It's Mother's Day.
It is.
We're going to be in light of this big holiday coming up. And since Kelly and I are both moms to littles, we are going to be covering the topic of mom guilt.
Good old
A
mom.
topic good old mom guilt, which we both know a lot about through personal experience. And we are going to integrate what we know from our profession as therapists to the topic and process some of what we've been noticing in ourselves with this mom guilt.
Just so much fun, Allison. Could we be having any more fun than talking about mom guilt?
I'm cringing a little bit on the inside.
Well, Allison, I will tell you, I'm over cringing because I am just tired of feeling this mom guilt. My soul feels weary from it because I was just telling you a little bit about it, but last week the mom guilt hit pretty heavy because I was having what I would call morning dread. I don't know if you've ever had this before, but it's that moment when you wake up and you open your eyes and you realize what the day holds and you just want to close them and try again for something different. And usually it involves my kids screaming, mom, the name mom being called out. And that morning dread has been pretty persistent throughout the last couple weeks. This pandemic, I had such dreams for quarantine. My kids were going to sit through dinner. We were going to have a chore chart. We were going to give up their passing. We were going to do so many big things, and come to find out none of those things have happened. And so last week I just kind of felt that mom failure, that feeling of like global, what is wrong with me? Why can't I get this right? And then I felt guilty for having the thoughts and feelings of dreading my day and counting down the minutes to nap time versus really enjoying their little faces. That's where I've been.
And all the moms said, amen. Like all the moms of little children, maybe older kids too. I mean, because our kids are not yet school age, so I can't imagine being a stay-at-home and self-shelter and teaching. So that's not even something we have experience with. But yes, my son turned 3 while we were in self-shelter, and the amount of expectation I had on myself to make that feel so special, and the ways that it didn't turn out the way that I wanted, or in the morning opening my eyes and before I can even get out of bed, there's 10 requests and I want to say no to all.
Oh, yes.
It's real. It's real. I think that every mother I know is in some way experiencing mom guilt for sure.
Coming up.
And I think just putting some definitions around what we're feeling might be a little helpful, just so we can be specific in what we're talking about. And so guilt, just as a really overarching definition, guilt is when we feel badly about something we've done or something we've neglected. We're guilty of doing something wrong, morally, ethically, or neglecting something we should have done. We'll get to shoulds in a little bit. And then shame is then when we feel bad about who we are, like that now I'm a bad person. So really we're covering mom guilt and shame. We're using guilt interchangeably. But those are some definitions and words to put to it. And then Kelly, you and I were talking a little bit before we started recording about false guilt, which is unhealthy guilt, versus true guilt, which is healthy guilt.
Oh, and I think that, what were you going to say? Keep going. No, you froze. Were you going to say something else?
Oh, go ahead.
But that's
not right now. I wanted to hear what you had to say.
Sorry, the internet's going a little bit. But that true and false guilt, I know that is something that is a constant reemerging theme, even in sessions with clients, because I think oftentimes we've grown up under this understanding that guilt, if we feel guilt, it must be true. And helping clients and myself, I know, differentiate between this true and false guilt can be extremely beneficial, because that false guilt, it really, I think oftentimes when we trace it back, it comes down to either self-imposed expectations or others imposed expectations that are neither realistic nor healthy and viable, that we then hold ourselves to, which lead to this feeling of kind of global failure. Like, I feel bad, therefore I am bad, right? Like, if I feel this guilt, that means something is wrong with me. It's a very destructive form of guilt that I think can play on a lot of us. Whereas true healthy guilt is really God created, that motivates us to do better and to be better. So it is, there's a strong differentiation, I think, to make.
Yes. I think false guilt is a waste of energy. And I think that's what we're talking about when we're referring to mom guilt or mom shame, is when we are feeling like we are failures or disappointments as mothers. And it's simply not true. And so we spend all this massive amount of energy thinking about that and feeling so shameful and guilty about something that we've just decided based off of whatever reason. And a way that I talk about this with my clients, the parents of the kids I work with, and interact with this myself, is the concept of should. And I should be doing better. My kids should be sitting through dinner by now. My 3-year-old should know every letter of the alphabet and how to recognize it and write it by the end of quarantine, or else I'm a failure. Shoulds. What shoulds do is they emotionally dysregulate us. So it takes us from a place of logical thinking, being centered and present and engaging. When I have a moment in the middle of my day where my son says, "Play with me, mommy," for the 50th time, and my reaction is no, and that's a healthy boundary for me. But my brain says, "You should do that, or else you are a bad mom. You're a play therapist. You should play with your child because you know that's what he needs. Connect with him." But everything within me is saying, "I can't. I'm spent. I'm done." So I'm emotionally then dysregulated, because what that should did was tell me, like, to go against my authentic, true feeling in that moment.
Yes.
If I then go proceed to play with him, then I'm dysregulating him, because I'm doing it out of a place of resentment or of like this guilt, the mom guilt. So when you dysregulate yourself by shoulding, we're also dysregulating our kids.
Alison, that is a beautiful integration of what you see, like even your knowledge as a play therapist and your experience as a mother, like achieving that congruency between what we're feeling and how we're presenting to our children. That's beautiful authenticity. And I think of what I want to model for my children. One of my highest values is that their knowledge that they're safe and loved no matter where they're at, no matter how they're feeling, no matter how they perform. Like, you're safe here, you're loved, you're accepted. And by doing that authenticity, by displaying kind of this being where we're at, we're really modeling for them it's okay to be where you're at. The same rules apply, for me as they do for you, and in general in this family. I just think that's a beautiful thing to display to them, that congruency.
It's something that we struggle with, right? You and I both, it sounds like. So your kids get up from the dinner table, whatever it is, in those moments, knowing, okay, they need a break right now. This is not, they're not able to do this right now. It's not realistic. My expectations are not realistic. And going back to that moment where I don't feel like playing, exactly what you're saying, the congruency of being able to say, sweetie, mommy just needs a break right now. Why don't you play by yourself, or you can watch a show while I take some time for myself because I need some time. And that is setting a healthy boundary. And I might feel a little guilty about that decision, but that's healthy, true guilt, because that is setting boundaries and that's being a healthy gatekeeper. And my son will then learn that it's okay to say no. And gosh, don't we want our kids to know when it's good to say no to people? We do, not to us, but don't say no to me. But
it's okay to have your limits. It's okay to not always feel up for everything. These superimposed standards that we put on ourselves are then translated to our kids. And can we just have a moment too, Allison, to recognize we're in a pandemic? Like, none of us, that was my moment last week where I went on a walk and I was like, who said I needed to freaking kill this the first time? Going through a pandemic. I've never been through a pandemic. But this expectation I have on myself to do it well, to operate on all cylinders at all points during probably one of the hardest times we will have in our lives, globally and as a country. And so this ability to recognize none of us are operating optimally, none of us are killing this, we're all having a hard time. And can we just be okay with the fact that we're not operating great right now as moms, as teachers, as employees, as husbands, as wives? Can we give each other a little bit of grace to know that
can we give ourselves that grace? Absolutely. We are in a pandemic, giving yourself that grace and that self-compassion. That to me is how, so I guess our last thing to cover, it's not healthy true guilt, it is false guilt. We are feeling miserable, miserable failures. Our children are going to turn out poorly because of us. It's all our fault. I ask myself, what is my best? And am I doing my best in this moment? And my best right now in a pandemic in week 4, 5, 10, whatever it is, it's not my best when we're not in a pandemic. Your best, there's that, if any of your kids watch Daniel Tiger, he says, do your best, the best that is the best for you, or something like that, but do your best. And my best isn't going to look the same every day. And sometimes my best looks like a lot more screen time than I'm comfortable with. I don't know about for you.
Oh, Allison. Yeah, I think I had a lot of dreams of my kids won't watch television, but ends up they do. And right now, I don't know what I would do without it. Just for those breaks in the day, because we are with them 24/7. And a lot of us aren't getting respite. Grandparents aren't there, daycares aren't there, schools aren't there. And for us to think we can maintain, this super mom parenting 24/7 around the clock for, 3-4 months, it's just not accurate. And so I love the idea of asking, what is our best? And truly, am I going against my conscience, or is this just a case of false guilt where I'm feeling global failure or feeling guilt for something that I truly am not doing anything wrong? Nobody's sitting there judging me. And if they are, that's a topic for a different session. But I think that ability to really recognize, is this going against my conscience? And if it's not, you are having a case of false guilt. You really are.
Yes. I love that question. Is this going against what I believe is right? Am I sinning? Am I making a mistake here? Have I, or not? And even if your answer is yes, saying, well, is this understandable in this moment? Can I have compassion in this moment for myself? Even if I am failing and sinning and screwing up every way possible for you right now, can we have grace for ourselves just as much as we do for other people in this time? And that's something I've been interacting with myself is I think I need to not take on so much. Maybe I don't need to say yes to every single thing right now in my life, and including playing with my own child or doing everything. And it's having some self-compassion around it's okay like to mess up, and God can handle it, even if it is healthy, true guilt. God can handle that. And this is what I say to almost every single parent I've ever worked with is your kid needs you, is that you are who you are, and your child is who they are, and they need you on your worst day possible. They don't need some amazing like imaginary fantasy. I'm trying to think like June Cleaver, the perfect whatever that mom is. I don't know who the perfect mom is, but they don't need her. They need you.
They
They
do.
need you.
Oh, that design. Like I love the idea that God, yeah, like that piece that tells us God knows our strengths and how those perfectly fit like a puzzle into what our kids need. And trusting, like, that's kind of the point of faith, right? Like coming to the end of ourselves. We can't do it all. God never asked us to do it all. He never asked us to be all and do all for our kids. Like, we very much, I think, get in the way of his design when we try to take on all of that responsibility, because ultimately like his spirit is mediating where we fail. We have to believe that, Allison. Like that's our faith. That's like what we come back to at the end of every coffee talk. We come back to that place. Without faith, it's much harder to cope and resource ourselves.
I love what you said. His spirit mediates where we fall short. His spirit, like he mediates, and he can take up the slack when we are not at 100%. We can trust that. And we can always ask God for help, and we can ask each other for help. It's okay to ask for help when you are having mom guilt, and share that with somebody and be honest with God about how you're feeling. And like, I think it's the sense of, I can't share because I'm embarrassed. Please do. Like, chances are any mom around you will understand.
Oh my gosh, yes. There's no reason to feel shame about that. Yeah. Good.
I think that's where we'll finish today. We could probably go on a lot longer, but happy Mother's Day. You are the best mom for your kid. They need you. They love you. And thank you for all your hard work with those little ones. They love you.
Happy Mother's Day. Bye, you guys.